Hello, everyone. Welcome to our town hall. I think it's really great that this lovely weather is allowing so many of us to take advantage of our amazing court, golf course, and other activities. We have a bunch of exciting events planned for the spring, summer, and fall, especially our Centennial, which is the week of July 7th through 12th. Yeah. The board and I want to give a big thank you to our fantastic employees who put in so much effort to enhance our club experience. They truly rock. Thank you. I also want to express our gratitude to my fellow board members and all of our committees, including the Centennial and Facility Master Planning committees, and any committee I might have forgotten. For their hard work on behalf of all of our members. So thank you all. We're excited to report that we've added 20 new golf memberships since the end of last golf season. Great job, Bevan, for all you do. So if there's any new members here tonight, we want to say welcome aboard. Please don't be shy to introduce yourself to others, and we'll do the same for you. We're really a friendly and welcoming community. Before I hand this over to Josh and to Dennis for their report from the Facility Master Planning Committee, I want to say that the goal of this town hall is to communicate and to ensure our membership is in the loop regarding items the board and management and committees are working on. Dennis and Josh, take it away. Thank you all.
Thank you, Patty. So this evening from the Facilities Master Planning Committee of myself as our general manager, and Dennis is our master planning chair. Also on our committee is we have representation from the athletic committee, who is Ronnie Ryder. On our house committee, who is Mark Sellinger, and our membership committee, who happens to be Annalie Collins. Look, we're all here this evening. Nice, good, engaged group. So the committee was formed back in August of 2023 by the board to help start planning, not for 1 or 3 years out on our facilities, but more in the 3, 5, 10-year and multi-generational planning goals. In working in these kinds of environments and these kinds of clubs and these kinds of projects, they don't happen overnight. So it's when we talk about planning for a decade out, it's not something that we can just go and accomplish in kind of a 6-month period or the like. As we've worked with some of our industry partners, it's been really exciting to have feedback back to us that the original plan that the board adopted for the structure, that how we go about it, was more detailed than other clubs they worked with. And things like that along the line, to put some really good faith into the efforts that this committee is working with, and then along with the board and the membership as a whole. So we had the first step of this process was to complete the survey with club benchmarking, which took place last fall. I'll say between Dennis and the committee and Patty, who was on the board last summer as our president, I remember a Friday where I was working on a draft of the survey and proofing it. And I think anybody that's been in my office usually doesn't see any paper anywhere. There was like 300 pieces of paper, red marks all over them. It was complete chaos. So there was a lot of information that went into that survey and really critical to our planning efforts. And that kind of builds one of the main emphasis items that the committee has as we work on this, is that this is really a member-driven project, right? We need to hear what the membership wants going forward, and how that's going to help the house committee, the athletic committee, and in turn the membership committee sell more memberships and keep us here for another 100 years, right? So kind of working through that, we got those survey results back around the holidays, distributed them out to the membership at large shortly thereafter in January. And in turn shared those with DECA, our architectural firm out of Portland, who has a specific division related to member-owned private clubs and how they work. And Dennis will kind of talk on that a little bit more detail. So the committee met with DECA here in person on April 1st. just over a month ago. The DECA was also here on April 2nd and met with some of our key staff members in those areas. So Margaret and Kevin from the Athletic Center, because they know that area very well, Christy and Chef as well, so that DECA can kind of hear some of what the staff works with on a day-to-day basis in those areas and kind of build that into their structure as well. We then had a follow-up meeting with DECA for a few hours on April 15th as well with the committee to kind of further our conversations. So some key pieces from the club benchmarking survey. Committee kind of identified 3 priority areas in no particular order to start working with DECA on that. That being the athletic facility building to include the golf simulator, our dining areas kind of comprehensively between the grill, the lounge, cascade room, the outdoor deck, and potentially mulligans as well as part of that overall dining area. And then the pool area being the third. A lot of our conversation with DECA kind of started kind of on the front end of kind of who we are and those pieces, but really started driving into what our goals would be for those particular areas. And a lot of that is driven by the survey. For instance, to give like one example of a potential goal is in the pool area, we asked a question related to like splash pads and kids activities. Did not have a very high response rate. So that was kind of a conversation that we had as a group as a potential goal and where that files on the priority list. Other goals that are critically important that come out of these conversations that are being driven through this and kind of reaching that list of potential areas for improvement with DECA are the things that might not be directly indicated on the survey. An example of this would be as we met with the committee and the group and started talking about how our spaces function, how our members use them, and the feedback we hear. An important one that came up is the acoustics in the grill, right? That we've all had times in there where the grill might be a little loud or those kinds of things, and that's not necessarily something that we specifically asked on the survey. But that's critically important that if we were to do a project there, that we would want to improve upon that and not forget about that as part of the process. So I kind of use that as an example of really good feedback driven from the committee as well through these conversations that are going to make kind of that goal list. So that really kind of helped us kind of focus on that. While these are the 3 first potential phases, this is kind of a long-term process. We have over 55,000 square feet of existing buildings. What phases there are beyond that may incorporate other parts of the club. And we're not quite sure what those are now, but this is kind of where we're starting with these top 3 phases. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to Dennis for a little bit more information on DECA's process and our next steps.
Okay, thanks, Josh. First, I want to tell you that this has really been a really fun project, largely because of the people involved, Ann Lee and Rainey and Mark. Great to work with, they're engaged, they're helpful. Insights have been contributed by everybody. Josh, of course, provides his evidence-based information for us and keeps us supported. And then DECA, which we should talk about a little bit. DECA is an architectural firm in Portland. They've been around for about 3 decades. They've done a number of clubs, golf clubs and other types of clubs. I've personally seen some of the results of their work. They presented information to us and photos in our meeting with them. It's really quality stuff. And they're excellent people to work with. They came in not with an idea of what they wanted to do. They came to us and wanted to know what we wanted to do. They began their process by looking at our goals. They looked at the survey during the meetings down here. As Josh said, they met with us, they met with staff. They asked a lot of questions. They had good insights in terms of the kinds of things that make a difference to clubs. But the key thing that I took away from them that I think is most helpful is they tailor their work product to the club. They don't bring a form that you fill out and then they tell you what they're gonna do. They truly are looking for information from us to understand what we want, what we need, and at what price. They're very sensitive to that, which is great because we are too. When it comes to the money side of things, the ideas that we work from, sort of goals or premises that we work from. You guys are, membership is gonna tell us what kind of money we have to spend. We're gonna do our best not to spend money twice. If we do something, we want it to be something that will last. And we want to get good value for the money that we do spend. So those are sort of moving goals for us as we work forward. The things you see on the slide up here about DECA's process is actually what they provided to us. As I explained, they've looked at the club, they've talked to people. They are very much into a member-centered design. They will take a look at different design options. Hopefully, we're gonna have some, perhaps by the end of this month, to begin looking at. They ask good questions about, does this work, does that not work? I mean, down to the detail of moving a food cart from the grill into the kitchen and how to keep that under more control because it's kind of noisy. So they're very thoughtful about things. So I appreciated that about them to a large extent. So where do we go from here? Next steps is DECA is presently working on 2 or 3 options for each of those 3 main areas, the grill, lounge, deck area. So they're gonna give us 2 or 3 different kinds of plans. They'll have some numbers put to them. How exact those are first time around is questionable, but before we present anything to you, we're gonna have good numbers to tie to whatever the options may be. And you'll have an opportunity to say, okay, we like this one, we don't like that one, which is all part of that member-driven process. We will take a look at those options. We will present, we'll work with DECA probably to refine them. We will then be presenting those to the board with some suggestions about where we think things should go from there. We hope that
Battery.
I can do it without, but so the board's gonna be working closely with the I'll just hold out.
They'll switch
Time to
it.
move.
So the committee will be presenting what we think would be right next steps to the board. The board will eventually bring it all back to you. I'm encouraged about the process in the sense that we got such good feedback from the membership through the survey, which is feeding into DECA's recommendations. Hopefully by hello? Hopefully by the fall, we'll have something to present to you. They do a really nice job of layout so that you'll be able to see what they're thinking. I've been through this at another club that they have, they'll do poster boards with the various design options. They'll present materials, so you get an idea of what they're thinking of in terms of colors and fabrics and textures and that type of thing. And like I said, one of the things we're gonna try to do is to be sure to have fairly tight numbers tied to each of the options, so you can understand what the cost of the club is gonna be for each of these various options. We're also have an agreement with Wolf Construction, who did the AC work for us, and they did the deck work for us. They'll be providing us estimates so that the numbers are as solid as we can get them. We're not trying to do anything here by guess or hope. We're trying to keep everything evidence-based. So that's where we are now. We hope to be able to come back to you in the fall with some good options for you to hopefully excite you about what this place can be. We're a little stuck in the 90s here with some of the facilities. Yeah, well, maybe but the one thing that was good to hear from DECA is they said they've seen worse. Uh, we've really got a lot to work with. So hopefully we can get things done in a way that, improves the member experience and, we can do it within a budget that people are comfortable with. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. So we're talking about our facility master planning and kind of, 3, 10+ down years down the road. What about some other items around the club that, need some repair and maintenance here within that interim period or parallel or outside of the facilities master planning process? I'm gonna talk about the buildings a little bit, and in the next slide, Mom's gonna talk about the golf course and the grounds committee work a little bit. So this list could be called things that keep Josh up at night. And it has some timing in lieu of following the survey and making sure that we put our funds in the right places as we work things in particular. You notice one of the questions in the survey was in regards to the front entrance of the building. And if you read the survey, you saw that the front entrance wasn't a very high priority to the membership, which means I don't see us moving the elevator shaft anytime in the next few decades. So with that in mind, a few months ago, I went to the board and said, this is something we've kind of been talking about. We've gotten the survey back. Can we start kind of researching these projects and better understand them, and in turn, reach out to our committees that help with the house and the athletic center and engage them in upcoming meetings? So since then, I spoke with the House Committee and let them know that we're gonna research this project and started that, and the other ones and spoke to the Athletic Committee. And just in the past couple of weeks, started to receive some proposals back and reviewing them in detail. So in these areas we're about to talk about too, back in 2022, I just received some rough order of magnitude quotes for what the projects would look like. Just kind of been inflating them for inflation in our 5-year forecast, so we kind of don't forget what they look like. But I think we all know, you look at the rough order and then you look at what the actual scope of the project is if you start to really consider it, and that's kind of where we're at now. So some information on our elevator. It was part of the clubhouse rebuild in 1996, and it is a US elevator brand. Ironically, US elevators went out of business in the early 2000s. In the event that the brains of the elevator goes down, well, I'm sleeping tonight. We are basically eBaying parts before that and create a very long lag to our operations for how we are able to repair that. In turn, the elevator can keep on kicking for a period of time, but it's a little bit of a ticking time bomb. So we're really considering this. Some key things to think about when we talk about the elevator. We use it to access the building for member access and the like. But a lot of folks might not realize our kitchen is on the 2nd story of the clubhouse. All of our liquor orders come to the 2nd story of the clubhouse. Every linen you see in this building comes up and down the stairs. When the golf shop gets a delivery, it goes down the elevator. When we take food to Mulligan's from the kitchen, it goes down the elevator, and so on and so forth. So outside of our impact to our member usage, we would also have an impact to our operation that we could pretty straight. So we've gotten this initial piece back, and we'll be taking it to House Committee here in a couple weeks. Bill Ross is sitting in front of me, and I shared this with him a couple days ago. It entails a lot more detail, and it's frankly not too far off from the wrong vote a few weeks ago. But it is kind of a bigger ticket item for us. So things to kind of consider as we work through this, just to have on our radar as well. In 96, there was no code for cooling in an elevator room. So down in the men's locker room, there's a small room with no outside light or the like. Basically has stagnant air in there. So there is code specifics to how much air has to be replenished in that room based on the mechanics of the hydraulics that get placed in that room, and so on and so forth. So that's what Wolf Construction has really been doing behind the scenes for us this past month, is studying those kinds of issues and making sure we have a really good understanding for them. The elevator's a really interesting one, because usually any of these projects that we work on, like the water heaters or the deck or the HVAC or the fire panel are city of Bend permits. The elevators are state of Oregon permits, so it's a little bit different animal than that altogether. So the main subcontractor that Wolf tends to use for these projects is Schindler Elevators. So they spent a few days on site here with me. Frankly, the first time I was ever in the elevator shaft, and it's a little different. And it's also just kind of nice when you go in there that, you know, there's some specific code requirements, like there is a light switch in the elevator shaft that will not pass code inspection in 2025 for where the specifics of where it is located to the ladder in the shaft and those kinds of things. So it's really interesting for me to stand there and hear those, because obviously I don't know those. And that's why we are engaging those that can truly help us with the best bid internally. So when we bring these up, don't be surprised if you start hearing about them, rise to our prioritization list as we look at them over the upcoming 30, 60, 90 days and beyond. Next up is our athletic center roof. So this one kind of also jives with our facilities master planning group, as we're receiving those design concepts for the athletic building. And while, you know, there's a chance that the roof structure might not change, we want to just kind of make sure we measure twice and cut once, before kind of looking at the roof structure. So that being said, we received quotes back from Wolf and their team and their main subcontractors on the roof. And frankly, when I opened them up, I was quite shocked in a pleasant way compared to the quotes that I had received previously. They are very cost competitive, to what I received 3 years ago, and I was very excited by that. Diane can tell you about my little dance in the office. To the point where I've double checked the square footage about 10 times on Google Maps and looked at it in every way, shape, or form without alerting the vendor that it felt like they were a little short. So I'm working through this final detail. But one nice thing that was also really great of having a partner like Wolf Construction as a general contractor for our club is 3 years ago when we looked at the athletic center roof, we were only in consideration of a metal roof. Metal roofs are generally twice as much in cost. Do get a little bit of lifespan beyond them. And the athletic center roof's a really interesting one. This is where the athletic center roof is an ag seam metal standing roof versus a standing seam metal roof. For instance, if you look at the tennis courts, they're a standing seam metal roof, which is a much higher quality of roof. You can get more lifespan out of it past its original piece versus what is on the athletic center at the current moment. So we looked at it 3 years ago with a vendor. We're given a proposed, rough proposal for another metal roof. And Scott Wolf's standing in there with me and he's like, can I go up in the attic and look around? And he looks at me and he says, you don't really need to do a metal roof on this building. You definitely have the option to do a composite shingle and maybe save yourself half of the project cost that you could put into other things around the club. So part of those quotes we've got back is all of those options. A high-end composite shingle, a medium-end composite shingle, as well as a metal roof option that would match the athletic center for our consideration. So really kind of goes to show we're having those that kind of look through that and are here as partners for us, can help us in the long term. I bring up another interesting part of a roof that kind of makes me scratch my head in some ways, and most people probably never see it unless you stand on the roof of this clubhouse or you look on Google Maps. There is a walkway between the foyer area downstairs and the tennis courts that also encompasses the pool locker rooms. Kind of that down ramp, right, where the locker rooms are on your right, and that down ramp to the tennis courts are on your left. So that is this picture here in the center. You're gonna see two types of metal roof on top of that. And this is where most people might not notice this in the regular day-to-day options. On the left, we have the ag version of the metal roof that matches what is on the athletic center building. On the right, we have the standing seam metal roof that is built into the tennis center roof. So this one is just a little bit of an interesting configuration that sticks out to me every time that I'm in an area, mainly on when we were doing the HVAC project and I was on the clubhouse roof. I'd always take a look at that and it just kind of sticks out a little bit. So to that point, this area, we've been recommended if we wanted to redo this section of roof here, that we would stick with a metal one, that would be a standing seam to match both options. The one thing that's interesting about those standing seam metal roofs and the longevity about them, For instance, the entire metal roof on the tennis courts, I'm not saying it's in the greatest condition, but it's in the best condition that we have on property. And we could also get more life cycle out of what's up there already. So it's just an item for consideration that we're kind of getting some quotes back on accordingly. And I hope kind of showing that vertical picture of it from above gives you an idea of what is actually over there, as far as the roof structure. Last one being the clubhouse roof. So similarly, this one, we have kind of worked with Wolf and their team to kind of help guide us on proposals for that, and have asked for some quotes back in a medium level, composite shingle, as well as a high level composite shingle for our medium. So we're kind of just starting, like I said, we're just kind of receiving these in the past couple of weeks and working through the details right now. I want to get through those details first and bring them to the committees accordingly. For instance, perfect example, that kind of HVAC piece to the elevator project, still confirming up some of the details around the edges, so I don't kind of want to misquote that out to us until we kind of finish that work accordingly. So through that point, we kind of want to make everybody aware of these conversations that we're starting to have behind the scenes and the purpose behind them. Our different roof structures are better in certain areas. I think that some people might have been in the athletic center when it rains, versus in the clubhouse, we haven't quite had an issue, but we have, a lot of roof above us, and we would really want to be proactive. Key piece of the clubhouse roof. 3 years ago, I stood on the roof with a couple different vendors, and we're starting to watch it degrade a little bit, and so the granules are starting to come off of it. I have some pictures from 2022, but I'm sharing some recent pictures from 2025. As we did the HVAC project, I spent more time on the roof than I might do in a usual day, and through that 1 year, to my even untrained eye of a roof, I started to see it degrade a little bit more over time than I had been accustomed to. A few weeks ago, I went up on the roof after this winter and I started seeing the roof accumulate in the gutters. So the granules of the roof are definitely starting to come off and are actually filling up our gutters in certain areas. So that would be a great picture right here to show you why we're really talking about this as a priority item for consideration. And I hope that gives you an understanding of where our thought process is for how we are reviewing those at this time. So with that in mind, we have 55,000 square feet here that we've kind of been discussing. We have 218 acres out there and a variety of items beyond that. So MOF is going to present here on behalf of the grounds committee as well. Talk about some of the conversations they've been having over the past few years that have culminated into these particular cases.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening, everybody. Glad to be here. Cart paths, always a topic of discussion. Our cart paths are 32 years old. Most of them are about 32 years old. Put in during the 93 renovation. The band-aiding we've been doing for many years is just not working anymore. So grounds committee took a field trip in March around the golf course. And then we sat down during our April meeting and put a lot of thought into this, but we've come up with a plan, a phase plan that kind of excited to share tonight. Not that we have the money right now, but our goal for phase one would be to repave all of number one, which we've already did part of that last year, but we want to start off your round of golf on a good cart path and end your round of golf on a good cart path. So holes 1 and 18 would be completely repaved. We'd also repave all the par threes except for hole 11 where I've done that natural path around the pond. These are areas we want carts on paths at all times, so let's improve those. And then we have a couple of areas and the pictures on here designate 2 areas that we want to improve for playability during your round. One being about 75 yards out on number 2, the cart path almost touches the fairway. A real common area for golf balls to get hit. So that path will be removed, regrassed, and then we reroute that cart path to the left in the trees there. And then on hole 4, the cart path that kind of splits the tree line down the right side would be removed, regrassed, and we already have a maintenance path on the right side that would still give maintenance access, year round. And then our maintenance yard, which many of you guys have not seen, is in dire need of some repairs. It's really hard on our equipment getting around the yard there. So the grounds committee, saw that while we were out there. Phase two, we would repave near all greens and tees. Those are the areas we want golf carts on paths. So that would be first priority on phase two. We'd also reroute some other sections, for playability and course aesthetics. All this stuff is based on, master plan 2.0, recommendations from Dan Hickson. And then we'd also have some other areas where we have vital maintenance roads, getting to the pump station, getting to the practice hole. Those would be included in phase two as well. And then phase three, we would remove asphalt on areas we don't really want to see golf carts. Once you get past that tee box, get out into the fairway. So all that cart path down the left side of two would be removed, and we would basically leave the base rock there, just like we did on number 5 as a test. You guys have all driven on number 5. It's probably one of our smoothest cart paths out there. So also part of phase 3, I'm kind of starting to research maybe a product that would go over this existing 3/4 minus, something that would pack nice and look a little nicer than 3/4 minus gravel. Other considerations during these phases is tree removal. Some of these trees that are right next to cart paths, we would maybe consider removing those. I know other clubs in the area that have done major cart path work have also done some tree removal as well. And then curbing, where do we want curbing to keep carts from driving off the path near greens and tees, just like we did here on number 1. I think that turned out really well. So those are some considerations. So next steps. How do we pay for this? Next step is I'm gonna start getting some bids from contractors for phase 1. We'll put together a budget. Approve everything to grounds, take it to finance, and then hopefully take it to the board so we can start these phases. Now, it's not gonna be year 1, year 2. I don't know when all this is gonna happen, but I feel good that we actually have a plan put together that makes sense. Questions?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Anything else on that? Great. Couple other things on, master plan 2.0. At the end of this week, we'll have a new, bunker on the chipping hole. Will not be playable for maybe a month. We gotta grow it in, but that was the one bunker we didn't do during the bunker renovation. And then, we'll have a level tee box, on the gold and green tee box on 6. Excited to finish up a few projects this spring. The nursery's being grown in right now, and we can just start focusing on daily course prep and tournament prep, and we're excited for the season and glad you guys are all out there enjoying the golf course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom. I think up next, we have our Centennial Committee Chair, Debbie Smith.
Okay, so we're planning on a good party, so hopefully everybody is looking forward to having a good time. I think the stuff we did in January, we had a lot of different people involved in that, so very much appreciated having all the help, and we've got a good committee. And we've been working on this back here, we've been working with all the other committees, the athletic committee, house committee. So we've got some fun things going on, because we're starting a whole week of parties. So I have the first night, which is July 7th, is on a Monday. We're going to have a low golf event, and it'll start at 9:15 that night with a shotgun. So that should be fun. You can find your partners, have a good time, and hopefully make the fun safe. On the 8th, the whole day is planned around the athletic center. So the goal is, the event you're gonna participate in, if you choose to do so, you wanna try and get 100 points, because that puts you into a level of some kind of a prize. There should be, I mean, you know, like kids can be cannonballs, all that kind of stuff, so we'll use the pool, we'll use the golf simulator, we're gonna be doing stuff in the weight room, the regular workout rooms, as well as doing, pickleball. Then we'll have the tennis, social, the wooden racket social, scheduled from 4 to 6, and we have Tom's coffee truck that's gonna be here to provide, beverages on the backside of the building as well. And then ladies' day and men's day, it's gonna be a fun day for everybody just playing golf. It'll be normal golf, except it's a modified, Stableford. Monty's working on some crazy scoring, so that way hopefully you can get up to 100 points, and everyone who gets 100 should, receive some type of a fun little prize. So then we come to family night on Friday. So Friday should involve all the kids. We're gonna have bounce houses. We may have a dunk tank. We're not sure about that yet. I know.
Veto.
I know, we're working.
It's out now.
On the ice machine or ice truck coming, so that should be keeping all the kids happy. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff going on out over this direct, that part of the golf course. I don't think anything will happen out on the driving range. So, that should be a lot of fun. So that it should get all the kids and families invited or involved, and that's from 4 to 7. And then a big all day, bring your different outfits to the club will be on Saturday. It's just gonna be casual though. Everything's gonna be golf related for the most part. We'll have, the Hickory Stick event. So we have 100 clubs, sets of clubs coming. And there'll be 2 shotguns, because we decided playing 18 holes of Hickory Stick golf might be not so much fun. Frustrating if you want to keep what hair you have. Anyway, so 8 o'clock shotgun, I think 11:30 is the second one. And, so that way we'll have playing the original 9, which was the first hole was number 14, but we'll play all the back 9 basically. And, you can dress up if you want to. I think Dan might have an outfit already. That plus 4s. And then, and then around 3 o'clock or so, we're gonna do the time capsule. And we're, looking at all the committees to put stuff into the time capsule for us. So we're gonna bury that about 20 feet down, so nobody can dig it up. Let's see what else we have going that day. And then, dinner, yeah.
Parade.
Oh, yeah, we have that. We're gonna hopefully have maybe some bagpipes or something and do a president's parade, past president's parade. The club champions, hopefully we can do the junior golfers as well. And then we're gonna have a big dinner that's gonna be more along the lines of a barbecue type foods, and it's just gonna be a relaxing time, and a band. We're gonna have a band. So make sure you bring your dancing shoes, but it's a full day of fun.
Debbie, I had a question. What kind of athletic activities would they have had in 1925?
Well,
Croquet, horseshoes,
yes.
Tennis.
Wooden tennis.
tennis,
Yes,
badminton.
so badminton, yes. Wasn't there some other type of fun deal?
Okay.
Okay.
Horseshoes,
Yes.
croquet, tennis. Has any of that going into that athletic stuff or not?
Well, we were more along the lines trying to use
What you have right
what
now?
we have, well, to try and get everybody to see the whole golf course for the whole club. Because sometimes some of us don't go over there very much. And if we did something that involved getting in the pool and swimming a lap, and we get points, and then going in and doing something on the simulator. And so there's like little different, there's check boxes you have to achieve to get those accumulated points to win. And everything we're going for is 100, obviously, so. Cool. Any other questions?
Good job, Debbie.
Oh, there you go. It takes a village. It takes everybody, and I really appreciate all the help.
Thank you, Debbie. Our next topic will be with Mr. Kevin Freihofer on veteran recognition.
Thank you very much.
Why
don't everybody stand up? I know you've been sitting long enough. Let's get up. This is a Rotary thing. So being a past president of Rotary, what do we do at the beginning of Rotary? We're talking about veterans, we pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah, hoorah, hoorah. So I don't know how the treasurer got into the veterans thing, but Rob Moore and I were flipping a coin. We had a couple of veterans come up to us and said, what are we doing around here for veterans? We said, well, what do you want us to do? Well, we want a free drink. I said, well, everybody wants a free drink. So, Josh helped, and I think we're getting us some flags, Bevan, or somebody can help me. I believe we're gonna get a couple veterans flags, a POW flag. So on different Veterans Day, you'll start seeing a veterans flag out there. Obviously, the American flag will always be there. Then I worked for a small corporation, and it came out to my desk on May 1st. With gratitude, celebrating resilience and leadership, our corporation has told me that May is Military Appreciation Month. Anybody know that? Military Appreciation Month. How many veterans in here? Let's get the veterans to stand back up. I'm thinking about, well, I'm an SOV. I'm a son of a veteran. My dad was in the Air Force. I'm the oldest of nine, but, you know, I lost an uncle during Vietnam. He was killed during Nam. So Memorial Day is very important to our family. But what I also learned was this Friday. Does any of the spouses of veterans know what this Friday is? It's not VE, it's Military Spousal Day. We didn't get that one up there. So what I learned in reading this from our company, it's always the Friday before Mother's Day. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be a woman to be a spouse, but that was started as Military Spousal Day. So what do you think, ladies? A free drink on Friday? All right. We've got water. I don't think we charge for that. And let's get some red, white, and blue ice, Bevan. Let's do that. All right, the next day in May, what's the next big Veterans Day? I think you mentioned.
Oh, VE.
What's the old VE Day?
That's victory in Europe.
Was
Yeah.
Victory? Well, now they call it, it's not VE Day, it's people that are active in military. It's always on the third Friday of May. Excuse me, Saturday. It's Armed Forces Day for those who are active. So that's to honor our active veterans on Friday, May 17th this year, excuse me, or Saturday. Thank you, Dan. I'm up here because of you, remember? And then, of course, we all know what Memorial Day is, in honor of our veterans who've lost their lives. So we're gonna try to do a little bit more. I think Bevan's also gonna help. We've asked veterans to send in your information, send a little story. So maybe once a quarter, we'll put a little story in. And we just had a very unique veteran die in the last month, who was 100 years old. Does anybody know who that was? Bill DeGree's mother lived down here on number 12, Phoebe. She was 100 years old and she was in the book. So if you look at her history, our Centennial book, there's a story of her. She was a wave. So hopefully Bevan maybe she might be the first person. And maybe you could be the second, because I don't want Jay Bennett to be the second. He's been asking. I said no. That's it for me, but thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. For our next topic, I'm gonna talk about a little bit about our strategic energy management with Energy Trust of Oregon. This is something I've been spending a lot of time on this past year, and to go back about 3 years, Energy Trust of Oregon is a funded program. They're not a state program, even though the state name is in there. Through all of our energy bills here in the state, whether it's commercial or residential, there is a stipend on there that goes to this fund, and there is a team that works on saving energy throughout the state and a best foot forward campaign. They provided a report and the facilities analysis to us in 2022 and identified some opportunities for us. And in that phase, they kind of have two different pieces of the pie. That first phase being capital projects, right? So when we did the water heater project, that was something that helped us on greatly. They paid for about a third of the project, about $20,000. Another example would be at one point, the steamer in the kitchen that Chef uses to cook with went down. We received thousands of dollars back on that. So when these capital things come up, it's something that we always kind of ask them or work with their team to see what incentives are out there for us. I already asked about a roof and an elevator. The ice machine that came here today, I called them on that, and they're like, yeah, we don't pay for ice, but I'm definitely trying. So that's that one half of the pie that we kind of started 3 years ago. So through that relationship that we have built with kind of our team member, from them, who just happens to live in this neck of town, so it makes it that much easier to get the stuff to the ground. We were selected to be a part of their strategic energy management program, which falls more on the operational side of things. So we as staff and you as members use these facilities on a day-to-day basis. And this project gave us the ability to work with them at no cost to help identify strategic energy management initiatives to help us not only just save some dollars, but to help us save energy resources here at the club. So through that, we were selected through this program. There's about a dozen different businesses throughout the state, and they're spread all over the state. The only other one in Central Oregon this year happens to be the fairgrounds. There's school districts in the valley that are large, that encompass multiple high schools and the like that they work with, in this cohort that we're in. So we're kind of part of this group that started meeting, virtually once a month as 12 businesses together, and then we kind of have a team we meet individually. And luckily for us, we were one of the first properties for them to visit on site in this year's cohort. So they came here to visit us in November. Moth met with us on part of our team. Monty Larson, our facilities manager for the building, and Delcy in the accounting office is kind of our strategic energy management team. Encompassing the golf course, the facilities, and the accounting office. Delcy helps process those payments. So we spent a day here in November with 3 basically mechanical engineers. And we walked this property in a way that you don't walk it in a normal day, right? I think we all get accustomed to walking into whether it's our homes or the clubhouse or those things, and we see things in that standard eye that might not stand out to us in a strategic energy management savings, especially to someone with a mechanical engineering hat. So our goal through this program is to save 3% in our energy. That could equate to about $10,000 a year. 3% doesn't seem like a lot, just adjusting our operations. I'll give you some perspective. We spent $150,000 a year on electricity. Kilowatt hours rate went up 16% for commercial accounts this year. You do the math. So we have developed energy models, and I'm actually going to skip down to this incentive piece real quick too. In our first year, this program is complementary to us. But each time we work with them and achieve milestones, we receive a rebate for $1,000. We've already been paid $2,000 so far this year for being a part of this program. And in terms, we identified different projects around the building. We had 2 of Moss team members who weren't working in the winter months on the golf course, who were energy interns with us, and we received rebates and incentives back on their labor hours. So we definitely achieved already some forward-thinking process on the cost side there for us going forward. So where I think it's really interesting, I'm excited to show these next couple slides, is they develop energy models with their team that help us develop what our baseline is around the property. So they have our gas bills and electric bills going back 3 years. And that helps shows trends throughout, the summer and winter season and those fluctuations. In turn, we're able to flag anomalies throughout those 3 years that could push our energy usage across the baseline. So an example would be, Arnold irrigation is shut off earlier in the season and we have to start using the well pump. That can be an anomaly 1 year against the other. So the key piece is it develops those baselines to show what energy usage should be around the club. It also factors in weather. So if we have a colder month, that factors into the baseline. So that really helps us show it. Every month I submit them a report of our banquets in the clubhouse so they can see the people capacity use of this building and see how that can fluctuate the baseline too. So looking at that, we started building our energy models from kind of that November 18th piece. Granted, you can look at it 3 years back, but it's just historical data. And it's really cool in this model is you can flag where we've achieved certain milestones whenever we worked around the building. So for instance, we have replaced a lot of light sensors in the building with motion sensors. So if you walk into the linen closet back here in the kitchen, the light comes on for a minute, but it doesn't stay on all day. Things like that, right? If we went to the walk-in cooler in the kitchen, the latch closed, but it didn't lock the door in, so it wasn't quite locking in during operations. Granted, chef would lock that at night, right? So we found like a list of 60 of those things around the property and have been slowly putting them into this model. And that's what we see down here at the bottom is each of those milestones. So when you are looking at this piece here, you have our, let me make sure I get it right here for us. This is our energy model. The actual kilowatt hours is the blue line that you see month over month. And the expected kilowatt hours is the dotted green line. So what you can see is our actual usage in the past 3 months has bettered what our expected usage is supposed to be with these initiatives that we've seen so far. We can see on the pink line that energy savings. So our goal is to save 3% over the year. And not to get too far ahead of us, because we only have about 3 months of data in here so far. But right now, we have achieved an energy savings in electricity of 13% or 34,000 kilowatt hours since November 18th. So I think that's pretty cool stuff for us to see on this graph. And working with their team, they get to know us a little bit too. I think those that know me know I like graphs and the like, and it was funny when they first built these for us and I got to see them my first time. Grace, kind of our leader, she's like, I know these are gonna love these jobs, so you're just gonna have to. So I log in and I'm always excited to see when the next month's bill goes in there and I can kind of take a look at it. But it is really neat. I'm gonna show the gas one here in just a second, but the other key piece about this is we're enrolled in this program for this first year. We'll be spending the majority of time with them in year 1. That being said, we can re-enroll at no cost for years going forward. While we won't meet with them on a monthly basis to go through those activities and the like, we will be able to use these energy models for years going forward at no cost to us, which is a huge help. Just looking at them when we talk about the budget process or those kinds of things can show us that we are still hitting, you know, the nail on the head for what our consumption should be, and that we're not doing something wrong with a new asset or something on the property. So with that in mind, I'm excited to have these not only through just 2025, but beyond to make sure that we're staying within that baseline expectation. Our second piece here, very similar looking slide. This is gas usage expectations. So again, our goal is to save 3% over the year. So far, since November 18th, we're at a 4.6% rate or a little over 1,000 therms. So it's pretty cool just to kind of see this come to fruition. What I'll also say is, you know, we documented this list of 60 things that we kind of put together. And it's, you know, through the same online platform, we get in there, we can prioritize them. I can task them off for Monty and they can go in there and check it off, the piece at the bottom. So when we first started working on this, we got the model back the first time. I was like, man, we have 60 things we want to work on. We've done like 4. Right? And that being said, we kind of strategically started with kind of the bigger gems and categories like that. So I was just really excited on that first day. You know how sometimes you're working on things that it might not feel like you're doing something? I was thrilled to open up the graph and see that we had actually achieved energy savings right off the bat, and continue to do so. So that feedback from these graphs, I think, is critically important for us too, to know that we are actually achieving our goals in the real world. So I'm excited to see where these go at the end of the year. You're gonna continue to hear from us on this topic throughout the year, because it's kind of a give and take between us as staff and you as members who use the building, right? There's a variety of things that we might be able to do, and maybe like an energy month later in the year to kind of think of those pieces. Key example, these doors, double doors, when you open them, they'll stay open, right? Has anybody ever walked into that door by Mulligan's on a 100-degree day when the door is wide open and the HVAC is on, right? So that's an opportunity for either us or you as members be like, man, the door's open on a 100-degree day. I'm probably paying for that air conditioning. And it's nobody, you know, we just happen to walk in and the door's stuck open. But there's an opportunity for us to find those opportunities there as we work together. So I use that as an example of whenever we see the real world savings up here on the screen, that's how impactful it can be for us as a club as a whole. So I think it's really cool and I really like seeing the license. One more piece here, or two more pieces, but the next piece will be from MOF and our Oregon Turf Foundation initiative.
All right. Happy to announce, I know, Josh, we went to all the committees and educated everybody on what the Oregon Turfgrass Foundation was all about, and you all donated, or many of you donated $10 a member, and I'm happy to announce we raised $5,600 for Oregon Turfgrass Foundation. The OTF right now is trying to raise $1 million to endow another turfgrass specialist position for Oregon State. Oregon State is key and vital to superintendents, education, research. We're seeing less and less students available for jobs. So I'm really proud to be the fourth private club in Oregon to be part of the Oregon Turf Foundation's initiative to raise money. So hoping we can still participate over the coming years with board approval. What's really cool too is we now have access to they have an online program, seven courses, and one of our maintenance guys participated this last winter. We now have free access to that over the winter. We can send in free turf samples if we're having issues with disease. So we're getting some back from our donation to the OTF. But really proud, and thank you all that participated. I think we had almost 98 participation with 12% over our goal of 5,000. So thank you very much.
And our last presentation of topic for the evening is our board election process with our director of elections, Rob Moore.
I was gonna be talking about the US presidential election of 2024. I was gonna do a deep dive, but Josh, let's, no.
Yeah, no.
All right, you wanna hear that? All right.
That might be an excuse to push the door open.
Yeah.
All right, most exciting presentation of the night. So I'm gonna talk real quickly about our makeup of the board, why we are that way, what's available this coming year as we elect the new incoming board members. I'm gonna talk a bit about the process and how you nominate members to be on the board. I'm gonna show you the 2025 timeline, and I'm gonna show you the recommended timeline going forward. More of a board discussion, but to simplify the dates as we move forward. Is that correct? All right. The board makeup, of course, you all know there's 9 board members. And they're all elected to 3-year terms. The exceptions would be if somebody were to move and in their first year, they got 2 more years, another person would be put on that. And then, or there'd be an election for the 2 years remaining on that term. But it's a 3-year term in general. I'm on my 3rd, happily, 6 months to go. It's been a joy to be on the board. I've enjoyed it. But I'm ready to move on. There's others that won't be, there'll be many staying, and nominees must be full equity members. And they, I believe in the last couple of years, I don't think this is part of the bylaws, we kind of want them to have a couple of years of membership here. So there are a couple of people brought on to be board members last year that just hadn't been here long enough, and so we kind of chose to not have them do that. So if you have ideas of people you'd like to be on the board, people that support the ideas that you support, make sure they have a couple of years and are an equity member and or their spouse. And this year we have 3 people rolling off the board, meaning we're going to bring 3 on. We want to have at least 4 candidates, and I want to get into that process here next. So there's 2 ways you can be recommended to the board. Number 1 is through a member group, saying, hey, we really like you, John, and we want you to be on the board, and I'll go through that process. And the third, and probably the most predominantly used one is the nomination committee, and they select and find people, they vet them. I see Jenny, who's been on that before, and others in the room. We appreciate the time and effort they put into that, because they found us some really good board members. And I'm gonna go through that process as well. So the member recommended process and timeline has to require 3 members to nominate anywhere from 1 to 3 members to be on the board. They just have to recommend them because they like them. They all have to sign a document that says they recommend them. They have to give it to the director of elections, in this case, me. And they also have to post that 30 days before our annual meeting, which this year is June 17th, I think. Is that correct? So you have till the 16th or 17th of May, if you have somebody you would like to support, put that forward to me and to the board. Okay, I got the 30 days, good. I know what I got here, I just don't know what's on each slide. Then the nominating committee, the process is we as a board select somebody to lead that, can't be a board member. A board member can't be on that nominating committee. And we ask them to go about and solicit and find people that might have an interest and, you know, a proficiency and an ability to be on a board, to make sure that we get board members that are qualified. I think the nomination committee last year did a great job. We have great candidates that were elected. And this year, we do have an individual who wants to be that nominating committee chair, and he's got a couple people that he'd like to bring on his committee. I would say that when we tell you who that is, we haven't voted on that as a board just yet. Please, if you've got somebody you want them to consider, talk to that individual or the committee so that we can bring in really highly, you know, qualified individuals to be on our board. They will be vetted. Ginny knows this well. They have to respond to a questionnaire, and then they have to stand in front of all of us and tell us the answers to the questions we ask of them as to how they would help with the governance of running our club. I don't have my glasses. Okay, 6 of those candidates have to be posted and figured out who they might be 6 weeks prior to our election week, which we spent a week, 7 days of voting. And then, of course, they start on October 28th, 29th, whenever that first meeting of the year is. So here we go. The timeline, as I've kind of started to get at, and again, I can't read it. I'm gonna read it from here. I'm better in distance. So you have to the 16th of this month as members to put forward to me and the board, people that you would like to run. And then our annual meeting this year is on the 17th of June. And then, by August the 29th, we have to have, by that date, based on when our election is, that's 6 weeks before our election, so that we have the time to put them up in front of the board or the membership so they can answer the questions. I do see people in this room I think would be good board members. So I'm gonna tell you this, you know, talk to me and I'll put you in front of the right people if you really want to do it. Election week is October 10 through 17. So you'll all get an email, you'll vote online, your votes will be counted, and the new board members, 3 of them, will start on the 28th of October. All right, I didn't remember to bring my glasses up here in the future. So that's what you got this year. So please pay attention to what you get out in the bulletin, on the emails you're receiving. I know we get a lot of emails. There's a lot of great information in there. Bevan, Josh, everybody, all the committees, they're doing a great job with what they're doing. So read those, and in this case, read them so that you know when the election is occurring. And if you want people you feel should run for the board, please, by all means, bring them forward. The only thing I'm proposing going forward is, as a director of elections, these dates are odd. I mean, our bylaws say this 30 days, 60 days, 6 weeks. All right, so I'm gonna change that. It's within the bylaws. I would like us to say, if you want a member to run, do it by the May the 1st, then we'll, you know, have our annual meeting in June. And then if you want, you know, to not have to worry about when the meeting or the election is, let's start with the August 20th timeframe. Again, this is all stuff for the board, and then we'll do our election sometime in October. So that's the process. I know this is not as exciting about me talking about Trump versus Kamala, but this is what's important to us here at the club. I think that it's critical to understand that your board members represent you. The board members I've worked with on the 3 years have all, whether I agree with them or don't agree with them, I know that they have an intent to do what's best for the club. So if you have friends, family, you know, that you feel can be on the board, listen to the membership, listen to their colleagues on the board, as well as listen to what staff wants. Those are the people you want to elect. And participate in the process, whether you involve somebody that you want to run or not. Show up for that meeting where we ask questions, read the documents that these folks put, because they spend a lot of time. We get paid a lot of money on this board.
Yeah.
Zero. So, you know, it's a volunteer role. And these people that you put up front and that are standing up in front of you to be on the board should be heard. And they deserve your attention. So if you're here today, you care, bring somebody else to those meetings. Let's get I think we have an excellent board, best ever. Right now, I'm joking, I'm sounding like Trump. But let's keep really solid board members. And let's keep this club. We've got an awesome staff. Josh leads that team awesome. We've got an incredible group of people that care about this club, whether you're on the board or not. So let's keep this train rolling into the future. Thanks for your time. Josh, I turn it back to you. Oh no, we have a question from the guy in green.
As the director of elections, how do you ensure my vote is counted?
Oh, Andy, probably you personally, we're not gonna care. But we do have a teller system that on the day of election, we sit in Josh's office and the computer did all the work. So I know if you're thinking about bad polling data, I don't know what to tell you. We're gonna add that up and we're gonna name the elected individuals. Any other questions as stupid as this? Oh, this is gonna be a smart one, Mark.
You have to have ID?
All right, so there's no serious questions? No, thank you for your time. Josh. If you're using- Oh, have you? Yeah, out of your bag? All right.
Okay. Nope, I didn't break it. So as I mentioned up front, our goal for the town hall meeting was to communicate, ensure our membership is in the loop regarding items the board and management is working on. Just want to know if we've accomplished this. I hope we have. And are there any questions that people have? Yes, Kevin.
Actually, I have a follow-up comment, because someone mentioned VE Day, and I felt bad that I didn't know about it. So it's Victory in Europe Day, and it is on May 8th. It was in 1945, on Tuesday, May 8th, that the agreement was signed. And I would say to anybody else, Google it to see how many people died during that war, especially how many Russians died. It was mind-blowing when I read it.
20 million.
27 million.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
But it's a Victory Day over there in a lot of different countries. It's just not celebrated here in America.
Now, I know we'll be doing the drawing for the dinner, but I want to see if there's other questions first. Yes, Nancy.
What, how did our fiscal year end? Was it on budget?
We actually have been better than budget, but Josh, I'm gonna let you take this for more detail.
In our break-even budget, we broke even by about 1.1% or the like, which is a pretty good starting point. I will say our annual meeting, we usually review those budget numbers then in the posting process, and I'll give you some reasons why. Even come June 17th, we still have unaudited numbers that Diane has completed that hasn't made it through our CPA review at that time. Some good examples, Diane's good at her job, and she has it really well wrapped up so far, but there are those hanging threads out there, for instance, like our HRA claims and other pieces that haven't necessarily come back to hit Diane's desk yet. but due within this May time period. So we're pretty close and knowing that we will achieve budget in that kind of 1% rate. But just kind of working through those final details and all that, because I am kind of reaching public.
Hey, Josh. You talked about infrastructure. You talked about member-based wants, and you talked about golf course wants. How do you go about balancing the three? If you did a vote of members, you'll never do the infrastructure projects because they're out of sight, out of mind. So how do you take care of, you spent 2 years now getting quotes and bids. We're gonna know shortly what the magnitude of those are. How do you go about a process to make certain that the infrastructure gets addressed when we didn't address it for about 10 years?
So part of my mind is working with our committees, in terms of finance committee as well, and then the board on the prioritization. Key things that come to my mind are safety. The past few years, we addressed some of the major safety ones with the fire panel and some of the hot water issues and the like. Next piece are critical, systems like the HVAC one that we kind of crossed off. I'll just tell you, it's so, talk about things that keep Josh up at night. 3 years ago, when Lonnie Larson would call me and tell me one of the HVAC units went down, and I'd just sit there and we'd be like, all right, well, here we go again. It's nice that we actually have a plan that in the event that they're under warranty right now, if we need a part, we can, those kinds of things. So as we move into this next phase, it's kind of continuing to think through that process of making sure that we protect our assets as needed. The roof is a good example, one of those things, probably shouldn't let that go. Knowing that the building's gonna kind of remain here and the like, right? Working through the next phases out beyond that, that elevator piece and how it impacts our operation is kind of a critical one too. As we start looking into things like aesthetics and the like, that might fall a little bit further down the priority list. So kind of starting with those high impact ones, and it's been nice that we've achieved a good number of them over the past few years, but I think it's also important to know that in 55,000 square feet of clubhouse and 218 acres of golf course, it doesn't end there. It's always an ongoing process for kind of review.
Does it make sense when you get it all together to have items that you believe can be handled through the budgetary process and items that are membership wants that could be handled through an assessment if that's what the membership wants to do?
It does, and I think that's where using our committees and kind of our greater structure, don't really talk a lot about organizational structure in our meetings and the like, and kind of working through that process accordingly helps drive that.
Any other questions? I guess we'll do the drawing. Last chance for questions. All right. Who's doing? Here you go.
Yeah, I need someone to draw.
Who wants to draw? Okay, Bevan.
Last time we did one of these, I found a hat up here like 60 days later, so I probably went to Monty, it was like your inventory was off for 2 months.
Literally drawing it out.
At a basket, but we should.
Tech person, you're drawing it out of a hat, I love it.
All right,
I want that.
$100.
Yeah.
$100 dining card goes to Kathy Sears.
Yay.
Yep, so Kat, for the series, we'll get that posted on your account here in the coming weeks. So thank you again for your participation this evening.
Right, great time.
I want to thank you all for attending. Appreciate your attention to all of this. And please plan to come to me again when we'll review all of our results. Thank you all.
I mean, it's.
Okay, Butch.